Now we'll start with the internal features of the medulla oblongata. So firstly, we'll be seeing the transverse section at the level of pyramids. And what were the pyramids? They were the bulgings which were produced on both the side of the anterior median fissure, and they're produced by the assembling of the corticospinal fibers, right? And these corticospinal fibers, they are proceeding dorsolaterally uh, to descend downwards as lateral corticospinal tract. Now, because of this decussation, this has divided the central gray matter into a ventral horn and a central gray matter, right? So now we'll study the different features. So what are the features which, apart from the pyramidal decussation, we'll be seeing the central gray matter, the ventral gray matter, which is divided by this decussating fibers. Then we will see the nucleus cuneatus laterally, nucleus gracilis medially, which are capped by their fasciculi, respective fasciculi. Then we will see different ascending fibers and the descending fibers. Ascending fibers are the spino-olivary fibers, anterior spinothalamic and the lateral spinothalamic tract, the ventral and the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, and the spinotectal tract. And the descending will be the extrapyramidal system that constitutes, apart from the corticospinal, it constitutes rubrospinal and the vestibulospinal fibers, and the medial longitudinal fasciculus and the olivospinal fibers. The olivospinal tract is arising from the inferior olivary nuclear complex, rubrospinal coming from the red nucleus of the midbrain. So firstly, what are the changes occurring in the gray matter? So firstly, the supraspinal nucleus. Now, these ventral horns which you are seeing, these are the supraspinal nucleus. The ventral gray column of the spinal cord, it coincides with the supraspinal nucleus and it extends till C5 segment, and this gives rise to the rootlets of spinal accessory nerve, the spinal part of the spinal accessory nerve. Also, its ventral neurons will give rise to the ventral rootlets of the C1 spinal nerve. Now, this supraspinal nucleus, it lies in line with the nucleus ambiguus rostrally, right? So that is why the cranial part of the 11th nerve is contributed by the nucleus ambiguus. And so this is the this one is the supraspinal nucleus, giving rise to the spinal rootlets of the 11th cranial nerve and the ventral roots of the first cervical nerve. Then is the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So over here, the second is the on the most lateral side is the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now the trigeminal nerve, the spinal nucleus, belongs to the afferent column, the general somatic afferent column, right? So it extends from pontomedullary junction till the second cervical segment, and it lies in line with the substantia gelatinosa caudally and the sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve cranially, right? And it is separated from the surface by its tract, the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. And there is a somatotropic arrangement of fibers, and since it belongs to general somatic afferent, it is carrying the pain and temperature from the face. So the ophthalmic fibers are ventrocaudal, then intermediate are the maxillary fibers, and the mandibular fibers are the dorsocranial. The most dorsally and cranially will be the mandibular fibers. Then over here you can see this one is the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve belonging to the general somatic afferent column. Over here, if you remember, I've told you about the basal plate and the alar plate. The basal plate giving rise to the afferent columns, and the alar plate giving rise to the basal plate giving rise to the efferent, the motor component, and the alar plate giving rise to the afferent column. So most lateral one is the general somatic efferent, then medial to it will be the special visceral efferent, and then will be our general visceral efferent, right? So it belongs to general somatic afferent, as it is carrying the general sensation from the face, right? Not from the viscera. Then is the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus. Now, base of the posterior column of the two projections are is known as cleva, and they are projected as nucleus cuneatus laterally and nucleus gracilis medially. Now, these are the continuation of the dorsal column. So, what type of sensation they will be carrying? They will be carrying the neurons from here. Are the first order neurons are terminating over here, at the body of which is lying in the dorsal root ganglia of the spinal cord. So they will be carrying the sensation of discriminative touch and joint position and vibration, and the conscious muscle sense, right? And unconscious is taken by the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, right? So over here, the posterior column is coinciding with this nucleus cuneatus and the nucleus gracilis, right? Their fibers will be terminating over here, but this area is more prominent at this level of sensory decussation. Now there is a somatotopic arrangement. So in the nucleus gracilis, laterally from medial to lateral will be the sacral fibers, then will be the lumbar fibers, then in the cuneate nucleus we'll have the thoracic, and then most laterally will be the cervical fibers. So this is a somatotopic arrangement. So here you can see one more thing is the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, which is capped by its tract, the tract of the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now the white matter, I've already told you, it has been divided into ascending and the descending tracts. The ascending tracts being the spinotectal fibers, the dorsal and the ventral spinocerebellar tract. The spinocerebellar fibers, they are carrying the unconscious sense proprioception, right, from the Clark's column. So the Clark's column was extending only till T1. So it is the thoracic, it is only present in the thoracic side. So the unconscious proprioception from the lower limb and the upper and the half of the lower trunk is carried through this dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Whereas from the upper limb and from the face, the unconscious proprioception is taken and they are relayed in the accessory cuneate nucleus, which is seen at the higher level, right? So over here, we'll be studying the spinocerebellar tract, the spinotectal fibers, spinotectal tract, and the lateral spinothalamic carrying the crude touch and the thermal sensation. The descending tracts being rubrospinal, apart from corticospinal, vestibulospinal, and the olivospinal tracts. Then the transverse section at the level of sensory decussation, rostral to pyramids, or at the level of medial lemniscus. So again, these are the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus. Fibers arising from it, they are known as internal arcuate fibers. They will be crossing on the opposite side. They will arranging to form a medial lemniscus. Now, because of this internal arcuate fibers, again the central gray matter, it is divided into a central part and a lateral part, which is represented by the nuclei of the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. This is more prominent at the medial lemniscus level, which is capped by its own tract, right? Then the central gray matter, it is occupied from medial to lateral side by the hypoglossal nucleus and the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus and the nucleus tractus solitarius. Then the white matter, the lower fibers of the dorsal nucleus of the vagus and the nucleus tractus solitarius, they will join and they will form the commissural nucleus of the vagus. And then there is another nucleus, that is nucleus ambiguus, which is lying in the reticular formation close to the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, as it is also exhibiting a phenomena of neurobiotexis. So over here, this is the nucleus ambiguus. This is the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Apart from these, you will see a part of inferior olivary nuclear complex. We will see arcuate nuclei over here. Then there is medial accessory nuclei. Then So firstly, we will be discussing about the nucleus cuneatus and the nucleus gracilis. So base of the posterior column, it gives two projection, the nucleus cuneatus laterally and the nucleus gracilis medially, which I've already told you. And there is a somatotopic arrangement of the fibers. They are carrying the sensation of discriminative touch in the conscious muscle uh, position and vibration. Then there is a somatotopic arrangement of the fibers, the sacral fibers being the medial most and the cervical fibers being the lateral most. Now, apart from this, these two nuclei, we have an accessory cuneate nucleus as well. So firstly, we'll discuss, apart from the accessory cuneate nucleus, we'll discuss how the medial lemniscus is formed. Now the efferents from the nucleus cuneatus and the gracilis, they will project as internal arcuate fibers and they will disconnect this spinal nucleus from rest of the central gray matter. So they will cross and they will ascend contralaterally as the medial lemniscus along with the ventral spinothalamic tract. So the medial lemniscus will carry the joint position vibration conscious proprioception and along with the crude touch, which is carried by the ventral spinothalamic tract. So over here, you can have a better look. Over here, this one is the medial lemniscus. And along with the ventral spinothalamic tract, it will ascend upwards. So here is the ventral spinothalamic tract. Then is the accessory cuneate nucleus. Now the accessory cuneate nucleus, it is placed dorsolateral to the cuneate nucleus. Now the efferents from the accessory cuneate nucleus, they constitute the posterior external arcuate fibers. So we have internal arcuate fibers arising from the nucleus cuneatus and the gracilis. We have posterior external arcuate fibers arising from the accessory cuneate nucleus, and we have anterior external arcuate fibers arising from the arcuate nuclei. Now these are carrying the proprioceptive fibers from the upper limb. Now unconscious proprioception is carried by the dorsal spinocerebellar fibers, which is giving collaterals to the Clark's column, right? So it is only carrying the unconscious proprioception till your half of the thorax and the lower limb. Now rest of the upper body, the unconscious proprioception is carried by the neurons, which are relaying in this nucleus, accessory cuneate nucleus, and they will be projected as posterior external arcuate fibers to the cerebellum through inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? Now, second thing which you will see is the appearance of the medial longitudinal fasciculus. So this is the medial lemniscus. Then you will see the medial longitudinal fasciculus. This yellow one is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. So what is MLF? The medial longitudinal fasciculus, it is formed by the crossed and uncrossed fibers and the ascending and the descending fibers arising from the vestibular nuclei. And it will establish collaterals with the oculomotor nuclei, the trochlear, the abducent, and the hypoglossal nuclei. That is all the somites and the tectospinal tract of the head and neck. Now, since the sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius, it is also said to be formed by the occipital somites. So, all the somites are responsible. The muscles arising from the somites, they are establishing the connections with MLF. So, for the head and neck movement, right? So, these are the collaterals formed by the uh, ascending and descending fibers of the vestibular nuclei, establishing its connection with the oculomotor nuclei, trochlear nuclei, abducent nuclei, all these controlling the movement of the eyes, the hypoglossal nuclei controlling the movement of the tongue muscles, and the tectospinal tract for the head and neck movements, right? So over here, you can have a better look. This one is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. Now comes the gray matter. So first one is the hypoglossal nuclei, which belongs to somatoefferent column, right? So this one is the hypoglossal nucleus. The most medial one is the somatic efferent column. Why? Because it is supplying the muscles formed by occipital somites, that is the tongue muscles. It is around 2 centimeters long. It is organized into a dorsal and a ventral nuclear tier. Now there is a whole complex which is situated in the hypoglossal area. So it is formed by nucleus intercalatus, the sublingual nucleus, the nucleus prepositus hypoglossi, and the nucleus paramedianus dorsalis. So if you can, you can remember. If you want, you can remember. And all these are responsible. MLF is also responsible for your gaze. Apart from head and neck movement, it is also responsible for your gaze, and so is this perihypoglossal nuclear complex. Then comes the nucleus ambiguus, which is represented by the branchiomotor or the special visceral efferent column. It lies in the reticular formation medial to the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now, since the phenomena of movement of a nucleus towards the maximum stimuli point is known as the phenomena of neurobiotexis. Now, this is exhibited by the facial nucleus as well as the nucleus ambiguus. Now, here the source of sensory stimuli is said to be the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So, that is why in the cut section, you will see the nucleus ambiguus, which is, though belonging to the branchial efferent column, is lying close with this spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So it extends rostrally as far as the upper end of the vagal nucleus, the nucleus ambiguus, and caudally it is continuous with the nucleus of the spinal accessory nucleus, since it is giving rise to the cranial node of the accessory nerve. Excuse me. Then, so the fibers from the nucleus ambiguus, it is giving rise to the rootlets of the glossopharyngeal nerve, to the cranial root of the accessory nerve, and uh, to the vagus nerve. So it is distributed to the pharyngeal constrictors, to the intrinsic laryngeal muscles and the striated muscles of the palate and the upper esophagus. So that is why it belongs to special visceral efferent and also to the general visceral efferent column, because it is also carrying the secretomotor fibers to the salivary glands, some of the salivary glands. And I have already told you it exhibits the phenomena of neurobiotexis. Then comes the vagal nucleus. So the vagal nucleus belongs to general visceral efferent column. So this one is the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus, and it extends caudally to the first cervical spinal segment and rostrally up under the vagal triangle, right? So it belongs to, I've already told you, the general visceral efferent and general visceral afferent column, as some of the authors think it to be a mixed type of nucleus. So it is the largest parasympathetic nucleus of the brain stem. Dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus. So over here you can have a better look. Over here, the blue ones are the efferents, the yellow ones are the afferents. Blue ones are from the basal plate, the yellow ones are from the alar plate. So they are arranged in from medial to lateral somatic efferent, special visceral efferent, and general visceral efferent. So nucleus ambiguus is corresponding to the general and the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus, it is corresponding to the general visceral efferent column. This one is the hypoglossal nucleus, somatic efferent. This one is your dorsal nucleus of vagus, belonging to general visceral efferent. And we have nucleus ambiguus, which is corresponding to the special visceral efferent. Then is the nucleus tractus solitarius. The nucleus tractus solitarius, it belongs to general visceral efferent and special visceral afferent. Why? Because it is carrying the taste sensation from the tongue. So that is why special visceral afferent. And it is, excuse me, it receives the fibers from afferents from the facial nerve, the glossopharyngeal, and the vagus nerve. All these three nerves are carrying the taste sensation from the tongue. So that is why this special visceral afferent, and why general visceral efferent, because it is also carrying the secretomotor fibers to the certain salivary glands. So that is why it is belonging to both the columns, the general visceral efferent and the special visceral efferent. So the gray matter at the level of the spinal sensory decussation, we will see the dorsal motor the hypoglossal nucleus most medially, the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus, the nucleus tractus solitarius, and the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Then the other masses of the gray matter, which you will see over here, are the inferior olivary nuclear complex, which is the displaced pontine nucleus. Then there is medial accessory olivary nucleus. Then lateral nuclear complex, which is lying in the white matter, the reticular activating system. And we have also seen the arcuate nuclei, which is lying on the anterior aspect of the pyramid. So apart from the this gray matter, we will see inferior olivary nuclear complex, we will see arcuate nuclei and the reticular activating nuclear groups in the which is diffusely lying over here in the white matter. So what is the arcuate nucleus? They will receive collaterals from the corticospinal fibers. Efferents travel over the lateral surface of the medulla as external arcuate fibers, and the remainder run dorsally in the midline of the medulla and then laterally in the stria medullaris in the floor of the fourth ventricle. So arcuate nucleus give rise to the external arcuate fibers and the stria medullaris of the fourth ventricle. So that's all. The next topic